difficulties behind us, we are streaming live again, and hopefully we won't have any issues. YouTube is a little better platform when you're just streaming one on one. Um, Hopefully the audio is a-okay. I'm gonna see if you guys have chats or comments. Give me a second. I'm actually gonna pull this up on the other screen as well. I'm trying to be I'm trying to get as much done by myself as possible with the subjects that I want to talk about. And if you guys have comments or chats or questions or whatever, I want you to be able to just throw them out there in comments and me actually see them. So let's see if I can get this. All right. So let's see if any comments pull off. All right. So I'll try this just to see if it will pop up. And yeah, it does. Sweet. So, all right. So, assuming that my audio is okay, and if it isn't, someone please just let me know. But for all the indications that I've had, it seems to be okay. But what I wanted to talk to you tonight about is the different errors. I know that's kind of a hard to say, being in the deep south and with all my southern twang or slang or uh, whatever you want to call it. But the cool, thank you, Aiden. Um, the different eras, ERA, eras of Transformers. And so you look back, and '84 was the big year for Transformers, right? That's when they kind of blew up, hit the map. They were obviously popular way before '84, but that was, back in and with Takara Tomy and that group under the name of Diaclone. But '84 is when they hit it really big here in the U.S. And they're celebrating their 40th year through special toys, and obviously Transformers One coming out, and decades and years in between the different releases, the different waves, the different lines, where Transformers really made a big change. And it was kind of sort of the same way with anything else that Hasbro had. G.I. Joe is kind of the same thing. They had they pretty much introduced the exact same year. Little bit earlier, I believe, than Transformers, but G.I. Joe kind of went through the same, ebbs and flows of the business. They got really, really popular. Basically introduce new figures without doing something with the old ones, right? And you have to remember, '84, late '80s, you had the internet, but the internet then was not what the internet is today. I mean, today, I sit here, Google pretty much anything. When was Optimus Prime, introduced and all that, and within seconds, it'll give you all that information back. Well, back then you didn't have that. You basically had word of mouth, and you had an audience in what was their commercialized cartoon media, right? So your after school cartoons, the big '86 movie that come out, and that was a way to usher in the new characters and let people know that, hey, these are brand new figures coming in, and the older ones that you've been playing with and that you have in your toy box now, they're no longer relevant, right? So smash cut to the '86 movie, first 5-6 minutes, all your favorites get just wiped out. Ironhide, some pretty graphic scenes, even for an animated movie back in '86. Now, I'm 40, late 40s, right? So this was geared toward, this movie specifically was marketed to people of my age at the time. So I'm perfect for this movie. I think I was 10 or 11. Um, and up until that point, we had seen the cartoon go on for, I think it was 2 or 3 seasons, and you see robots get shot, you see a lot of misses and stuff like that. The equivalent of Optimus beating Megatron in any particular episode was maybe throwing him off a cliff into a river, stuff like that. But there was no killing. There was no, gunshots that, went in one side and come out the other. And there was definitely no death of any sort. So, you go into the movie thinking that, hey, it's going to be kind of the same thing. And then, wow, within the first 5 minutes, Decepticons ripping open the arc door and just blasting holes in people, and their eyes just instantly turn gray. It was a shock for us as moviegoers because we had never seen that, right? And there were reports after the fact of kids, leaving the hey, thank you, um, of children coming out of the theater crying and stuff like that because Optimus died and Hot Rod killed him. And I know I'm gonna get some blowback on that, but that's just my opinion. Hot Rod killed him. So if they had never drawn Hot Rod, would Optimus still be here? Of course he would. So anyway, that's my take on it. But anyway, getting back to the eras portion, right? Um, but yeah, it was a way to definitively get rid of those characters and then bring in a new generation of Transformers that you could now buy and play with. The RC, the Cup, the Hot Rod, Rodimus Major, Ultra Magnus, even stuff like that. So it was one big long 90-minute commercial is what it essentially was. And nowadays you fast forward 40 years and now you can just pay for a 15-second spot on Google or YouTube or whatever, and you can introduce anything you like to the world, right? Whether it's a new figure, a new episode, or whatever else. You don't have to go out in this, format of fully animated movie to get the results and to get your message out that, hey, we have new stuff coming in. So a lot has changed in 40 years. There was, after the movie, excuse me, got to get your Dr. Pepper slurp in here. But yeah, there was a time when everything was, through the after school cartoons. That was basically all their advertising. That's all it was. The animation. I mean, I'm a G1er. I love the G1 material, but if you go back and watch it now, the animation is crappy. The dialogue is crappy. It's it's just garbage, right? But as kids, we didn't care because we were invested in the storylines. Um, so you move on from that from G2, and then I don't even know the lineage or the true lineage of Transformers, but along the line you've got Beast Wars and stuff like that. And there was cartoons about that. There was a couple seasons of that. There was Transformers Prime. Um, yeah. Uh, Sorry, I see your comments, but yeah, I'm not trying to focus on those. But yeah, there was, different lines, different cartoons, and then the Michael Bay movies came out. Transformers 1 in 2007, I believe, was when the first one was. And now you've basically got the same thing all over again. It's a, 90-minute, I think it was closer to 2 hours, so 120-minute advertisement of new Transformers, basically reintroducing them to the people that missed out from the early 80s and early 90s. So now you've got, the generation that was born in the mid 90s watching this, the 10-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, so on and so forth, watching these new, live action movies, and that is their G1. That's what they grew up watching, and they don't know. I mean, they might know a little something about how it all started, but for them, that is the genesis for their love of Transformers. For the people in the old school way of thinking, I'll include myself in that. It was, oh my goodness, it was what did they do? The Transformers are too complicated. Optimus doesn't look like that. Bumblebee, why Bumblebee? Stuff like that. And at first we were thinking, oh my God, Michael Bay has ruined Transformers. But then you take a step back and you actually look at all the attention it garnered, all the money it made, all the success that it had with its, 4 or 5 different sequels, all the spin-offs, the Bumblebee movie, the Rise of the Bees, all that stuff. And it's honestly done is it's brought millions upon millions of brand new eyes into this world that we kind of all share to an extent. I wasn't a big fan of the live action movies. I was excited to see them, but I kind of left the theater saying, I'm not so sure about that. Really cool action sequences. I was still excited. I was just a little bit depressed that they took everything and made it way more mechanical. And then you see the toys that come out, and I think the original Optimus has got some like 7 or 8 steps to actually transform, which is super basic. To you see the Optimus Prime now that they come out with in toys, and he's got like 37 steps, and honestly that's just a little much for me, which is why most everything that I have here is still in boxes, because I'm not patient and sometimes not quite smart enough to actually transform all these things just right to get them looking like they're supposed to. So I prefer the G1 models and stuff like that. So, but going back to my point is the live action movies brought in a whole new era of Transformers, brought in new characters, brought in new storylines, and then more importantly, brought in new fans and new just generations of people to join what was essentially a 30-year-old product at that time, or 20-year-old product at that time. And so now you fast forward to 2024, you're celebrating 40 years. You've got Transformers 1, which we've been told by one of the voice actors on the show, John Bailey. We interviewed him last week on our YouTube channel. Got to speak with him a little bit about it. An absolutely beautiful movie about the beginning of Transformers and what led to the division between the Autobots and the Decepticons. Most everyone knows the story there. Optimus Prime was something like a librarian or something. His name was Orion Pax, and he and Megatron were actually really good friends. And then whatever happened, they end up parting ways and starting to battle against each other. On the world of Cybertron, until it got to the point where Cybertron was just basically left in ruins, and someone had to escape Cybertron just to escape, um, whatever was going down there. So I don't know a lot about the movie itself. I'm excited to go watch it. Um, even hearing John talk about it, it's probably one of the more well done movies, even though it's, animated, CGI, whatever you want to call it. It's not live action, but it's definitely not geared for, the 7 and 8 year olds. It's geared for people that like Transformers and want to know a little bit more about them. So I'm excited to see, but I was actually talking with a buddy of mine. I was hoping he would hop in on this. I don't know if he's out there. I sent him a link. Well, I didn't send him a link to hang on. Chris, if you're out there and you want to hop in, just hop in. Um because you're kind of the subject and what got me started on this. But anyway, a buddy of mine and I were talking, about the different errors and what they mean to each one of us. So, and what sparked it off wasn't even Transformers, it was actually basketball. And we were just having, innocent talks, just, hey, do you watch basketball? I was like, no, not really. I kind of stopped watching uh, when Jordan and, all that, when he retired is kind of when I stopped watching, wasn't really, still not a fan of LeBron and all that. And it just, I don't know, something left when Jordan and Larry Bird and, Dominique Wilkins and all them, when they stopped playing, is kind of when I stopped watching basketball. It just wasn't as interesting for me. And the same thing can be said for Transformers. You get Generation 1, the G2 cartoons, and then when it came to Beast Wars, I had pretty much lost all interest at that point because, I get a robot turning into a truck to be, invisible in public or incognito or, just trying to hide or whatever, but I don't see a 10,000 pound metal monkey swinging through the jungles of wherever and blending in. That just didn't make a whole lot of sense for me. Or, metal birds flying through the sky, stuff like that. So that, I don't know, just didn't do it for me. So I was never a Beast Wars fan, right? So that was kind of my cutoff point until the movies came out, the first Transformers and then Rise of the Beast and stuff like that. It made me want to know a little bit more about them, even though, I'm not going to go back and watch all the Beast Wars cartoons, but it made me a little more open to the idea. Sorry, I just had a miniature toy cave in over here, which reminds me we need to do a sale. But yeah, these aren't the technical difficulties that you can fix on your iPad. That's physical difficulties that you can fix with a flash sale. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. But anyway, um, where was I? Yeah, so Rise of the Beast kind of made me go back and want to do a little more research to see what all I had missed, through the cartoons and the toys and all that stuff. I end up buying a few pieces that I would normally not buy, just because of that. And I think that's what the movies were ultimately there for. They're still one big long advertisement, even though uh, product introduction and all that is pretty much handled, virally through the internet and stuff like that. With TikTok and Instagram ads and the emails that you get from Hasbro Pulse, so on and so on. It's way easier to introduce, a product versus having to make a multi-million-dollar movie, you know, just to introduce that product. While the movie certainly helps, it's not the only way to get that product out there. But my question, and this is kind of a discussion that I want to hear from the fans, which is why I set up all these cameras and keep moving everything around. What was the best generation for you? You know, was it the 80s? Was it the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s? Is it right now? What is, in your thoughts, the best generation for Transformers or anything else? And if you were a fan at some point and then you just stopped caring, or whatever word you want to put in there, and then all of a sudden you saw, I don't know, Transformers Age of Extinction, and it just kind of lit that fire for you to be a fan or a collector again, that's what I want to explore. So hit me up in the comments. What was the best era for you? And I'll just read off the comments and see what we come up with here. Maybe we can have a discussion if the comments come through fast enough. If not, maybe you guys just sit back for another 30 minutes and watch me drink Dr. Pepper. All right, so Aiden, so during the Bayverse, each character looked amazing, and that's what brought me into the world of Transformers. Now, was that the live action movies? Was that your first introduction to Transformers, or that's what really kicked off this new love or desire to, I guess, collect them and be a little more in their world? And that's first an introduction to open their world. That's good. That's exactly what they were designed to do. So yeah, mission accomplished from Michael Bay and all of that. Um, yeah, but you can definitely look back, and especially, the whole toaster. Yeah. Um, but why were all the what I want to know is, you know, when the piece of the spark went down through Sam's rooms, burning a hole through floor to floor to floor to floor, to get to the kitchen, why are all the appliances seemingly Decepticons? So I mean, that's what I want to know. I mean, is the kitchen just that bad of a place to be? Because I love my air fryer. I would think that, you know, if my air fryer suddenly became a transformer, it would be an Autobot or Toast Bot or, you know, Breakfast Bot, whatever you want to, whatever affiliation they want to hang in. But yeah, it just seemed like everyone was out to get Sam, shooting off little missiles and little machine guns, and everything was just there to cause destruction. So, and it was a piece of the Allspark. I mean, the Allspark was there to create life to robotic organisms. So it wasn't to give them, you know, souls. It wasn't to give them, you know, mantra to follow. It wasn't say, okay, you're good and you're bad and you're good. It was basically up to the robot themselves to decide. So that's why I wondered why all the kitchen appliances, I mean, just seemed like they would be straight up evil. Because they were certainly out to get Sam and his little dog. So, what else do you guys got? Yeah. Yeah, I will say the Prime did have, but I believe, what year did Prime come out? Because Prime, oh, I don't know, Chris is on here somewhere. Prime did come out very closely to when the live action movies came out in '07. So there could have been an underlying, hey, let's get this as close to the movie but still be your own thing as possible and let it be a jump off point. Um, yeah, so that kind of answers it. It was either, I would imagine that they, hang on, just texting somebody real quick. See if we get this done. So yeah, I think I would like to believe that there was some type of, I don't know, sit down discussion with all the movies, kind of like they're doing with the Star Wars universe now, or the expanded universe, where, they kind of sit down and say, look, we've got this movie coming up, this one's released. Anything that you do after needs to either support that or lean into the future of possible new releases, or, stuff like that. Because otherwise, you just have everybody doing their own thing, because, let's just say you release Transformers Dark of the Moon, and you get some pop up studio that acquires licenses. Hey, you know what? We're going to do our own thing. We're going to go back all the way to the beginning, and we're going to erase all the Beast Wars stuff out of canon and stuff like that. You'd have a, yeah, there'd be a huge mess. So yeah, Aiden, yeah, the drive here is the marketing. So I mean, obviously there's going to be a big marketing push for pretty much anything you put out there. I mean, you look at toy stores now, and they're getting in toys for movies that haven't even, some of them haven't even gotten release dates yet. I think one of the, I don't know if it was a financial flop, but I know it was a definite financial misstep. The latest Indiana Jones movie, The Dial of Destiny. While the movie itself was pretty good, you had toys being introduced for it, 4 or 5 months before the movie even had a release date. So it was giving away potential plot points and some even spoilers, uh, to the movie. And then you're trying to sell a movie, or you're trying to sell toys to a movie franchise that hasn't had a really good movie released since, the Last Crusade. The, what was it, the previous Indiana Jones, the, because you've got the Last Crusade, and then it's what, 15 years before they brought Kingdom Skull. And, people thought that movie was okay, but it was kind of a flop because no one really, I mean, really, Indiana Jones and Aliens, it didn't really hit home all that well. And then you go another 10, 15 years and you come up with this one, and now you've got, whoever, you know, toy company trying to, throw out action figures of Indiana Jones, and they didn't sell all that great. And now you'll be lucky if you can find anything in the store. One, the movie didn't do all that great at the box office. And so you just stop with the toy production wherever you're at and start reining it all back, because it's obviously not going to be the smash hit that you thought it was. Um, yeah. So, um, it's kind of the same way with Transformers. For every Transformers movie, there was a huge push for new Transformer toys. Um, Before, during, and immediately after the movie launch. Um, yeah, they're they were pretty in sync. Was with what they were doing. When the movie started to bomb, like the last night did, um, it they released a few toys, but they started scaling back because the box office returns weren't supporting such a big toy release. I think it made less than half of what the third one made, and you could basically run a bar graph on all the movies, from '07 all the way down, and it was just a steady decline. Whether it was story, whether it was, plot, or whatever else, the movies just weren't making the kind of money and making the kind of impression on the public that, they thought they did. So what do? You go in and you do basically a soft reboot, which is why we ended up with Bumblebee. Um, Now, Bumblebee was a hit, right? But I think what everyone remembers out of Bumblebee, myself included, was the Cybertron scene, right? So about, I don't know, a little less than halfway into the movie, you get the flashback scenes of where they were at on Cybertron and how they got to Earth and stuff like that. And that is really what made the movie so profitable, I believe, because people were coming out of theater saying, "Oh my God, if we could just get a movie with all the Cybertron scenes, dude, that would be so awesome. A live action, back to the beginning, Cybertron, no humans." Because, I mean, everybody that I've talked to, humans tend to bring the story down. Because now you have to interact with them. You have to spend countless minutes in a movie, which is a massive undertaking of explaining why the humans are there, what they're doing, stuff like that. Kind of like the Bumblebee scene when he's trying to hide in the house. He ends up tearing up the house. I mean, it was funny, but you could have used that 10 minutes of, making more Cybertron flashback scenes, and everybody would have loved it. Um, and so I think with that information that they got off that first movie is what kind of catapulted Transformers 1 into pre-production anyway. It's like, hey, you know what? Let's start thinking about this. What do people really, really want? Right? And so it took 30, 40 years of movies, you know, getting better and then slowly but surely getting worse, and then a soft reboot to find out what everybody wants. And, by and large, what most people wanted was a CGI or, whatever movie of just the robots back in Cybertron explaining how it all happened or how it all began. So I'm kind of interested to see how Transformer One, um, yeah, how that compares with my thinking anyway. So I could be way off the books, but Tried to get my buddy Chris on, but he's not playing, evidently. Let's see. Yeah, it's not letting him join in. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do something here and it's not letting me. But anyway, all right. So that's about all I've got. Just like I said, wanted to talk, wanted to get your thoughts in it. Something to think about. Leave me a comment in the comments. Maybe we'll pick this thread up on another day and we can kind of dive into it and see what other people think. I would love to know what someone else's opinion is about the Transformers just in general from whatever point they decided to hop in and then until now or all that. So, yeah, feel free. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up in Instagram. Like I said, maybe we'll make a YouTube version out of just answering the questions or at least debating the questions that you put in. But that's about all I've got. So I am going to leave you guys with that. And we'll see you next go around, kids.